We have been getting a higher than average number of calls from one state in particular. So in this video, I wanted to discuss the differences between living in California and Florida, namely in our little area here. I'm first going to talk broadly about them both and then narrow that down to our little area here on the Emerald Coast. Stay tuned. What is going on? It is Andrew with the Emerald Group. I'm so excited for today's video. We're going to be talking about some of the differences between California and Florida. Now, keep in mind, I am from California, or at least I lived there for quite a while, so I'm not California bashing at all. We just are getting a higher than average number of calls of people that are moving from California and looking to move out of state. They're asking a lot of questions, and so I'm trying to hopefully eliminate some of those questions with this video so that you'll know if moving to this part of Florida is the right move for you. So if you want to know everything there is to know about the Emerald Coast, be sure to hit that little subscribe button and tap that little bell so that it will notify you every single time we do a new video. And listen, we've been getting calls, texts, and emails from people everywhere, whether it's California, New York, Oregon, all over the place. Anyway, we absolutely love it. I love talking to you guys. So if you guys are curious about moving to this area or you are about to make a move to this area, don't hesitate. All my contact information is right here. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, a carrier pigeon, smoke signal, whatever you want. I'd love to chat with you guys. Ask any of our folks that have been calling in. I absolutely enjoy it. So don't hesitate to reach out, but let's get into the video. So as y'all know, if you've watched any of our other videos, particularly our cost of living videos, I like to start with housing first because that is your biggest expense whenever you move to a new place. So here in Florida, and this is Florida-wide, this is not just the Emerald Coast here because I want to kind of go broad and then we're going to narrow that down as I mentioned before. But here in Florida in general, the average home price is $245,000 and in California, it's $553,000. So those of you that know for sure that you are moving from California to Florida, just note that you can take that equity right out of your home. You've probably got it. It's been a seller's market for a while. And take it on over here and live like a king, which will be awesome. Now, I know a lot of you will be moving down here and renting first or not purchasing ever and just renting the whole time you're here. There's nothing wrong with that. I do want to go over those numbers as well. So in Florida as a whole, the average rental is just shy of $1,600 a month, whereas in California, it is just shy of $2,200 per month. Now, when we start talking hyperlocal about here, just on the Emerald Coast, everything from Panama City to Pensacola Beach and everything in between, it's going to vary very, very widely. So go ahead and check out our cost of living videos. We'll put a card up here, that little gray thing that pops up in the video, might be over here, wherever it is. Go ahead and check those out if you want to know about individual cities, but just note on average, California versus Florida, it is much cheaper to live here when it comes to housing. Now, I don't want to go into any of the other cost of living stuff because I think a lot of it is so subjective and so town specific that depending on where you're coming from in California versus where you're moving at here in Florida, it can be completely different. So I don't want to miscue any of those numbers, but I do want to talk about our job sector. So for everybody that's going to have to move down here and actually work for a living, this doesn't include you retirees. You guys get to just kind of hang out, live your best life. But for those that do need to work, I want to talk about the job sector a little bit to see if your job sector is even one of the bigger ones in our area. Now, that doesn't mean that your job isn't out here. It just means it might not be one of our biggest employers. So first and foremost, our military takes the cake on the biggest employer here in our area with all of the different bases we have around here. We've got Army, Navy, Air Force, namely Air Force is kind of the bigger ones, but of course, all around us, we're just surrounded. So that's going to be our number one employer. Now, outside of the military, some of the other popular industries I'm going to throw up on the screen here, and I'm just going to talk about the industry as a whole and not each individual one, but we've got the education career field, we've got medical, retail, really service industry in general is pretty popular, particularly if you decide to hang your hat in Destin, Florida, county government, defense contractors, and really any other contractors related to the military, the government. Now let's talk about location in general. This is where we're going to go a little bit more narrow and talk about our area here that is called the Emerald Coast, the Florida Panhandle, or at least a good chunk of it. We do not service a whole panhandle, but we do service a very large chunk. So what the heck are the advantages of leaving California and moving here? Now, some of this is going to be purely my opinion, but a lot of these are going to be facts facts. Let's start with those real quick. First and foremost, cost of living, depending on where you're at in California versus where you're at here, is almost guaranteed to be cheaper here unless you're in one of the rural areas, one of the cheaper areas of California. Then I can't speak to every single county and every single city, but for the most part, it is cheaper to live here. Now, when it comes to taxes, which is also part of the cost of living, but I wanted to touch on this directly because I've been hearing and seeing a lot of videos online of people that are moving from California stating that taxes are one of the #1 reasons. So here in the state of Florida, we do not take income tax whatsoever, whereas in California, I've read that it's up to 12.3% income tax. It's a huge number, especially for small business owners and people trying to grow a business. That's very hard to overcome. And then on top of that, our sales tax is relatively low. I think it's actually one of the lower ones in the country, but don't quote me on that. And we are at 6%, whereas California, I believe, is at 7.25% for sales tax. So all in all, that makes taxes a lot cheaper, which again, leaves you more money in your pocket, better quality of life. At least I would like to think so. Now this one could be a pro or a con depending on if you like it or not, but there is no snow here on the Panhandle. I've been here, I don't know, about 15 years, and there was once or twice we started seeing a little bit of snow come down, but it never stuck. So it's not something we have to deal with out here, but if you do like the snow, that's actually kind of a con. Now, when it comes to fishing, I have heard, I do not fish myself, but I've heard that a lot of people move down here for the fishing. We've even got Destin named the world's luckiest fishing village. So I would like to think it's better, although I've got no facts for that. Now, when it comes to our location in general, if you are into some of the outdoorsy stuff that you think we might not have out here, we probably actually have it. We've got a lot of bike riding, mountain biking, although I'm calling it a stretch to call it a mountain because we are here in Florida. It is pretty flat. Just about 30 minutes north of us, we've got Blackwater where you could go tubing down the river. You can go camping, you just enjoy kind of the wilderness and things like that. I know a lot of people feel like they're gonna miss that from California. And of course, we have our beaches, which in my personal opinion, I've never seen a beach better, and I've been all over the world. I've been to the Caribbean, all of that. I love our beaches the most, and I think it's mainly because of the sand. We get it off the mountains, just from graphite. It's this whole thing. I'm not gonna go into it, but it's just this powder white, it's so amazing. Just you set your toes in it and the world's problems go away, it seems like. And then of course our water stays warm relatively a good amount of the year, although not as much as maybe in South Florida or like I mentioned in the Bahamas or the Caribbean or something like that. So, but overall it is warmer here, so I imagine the water is generally better to get into than in most places of California. So I'm not going to touch too much more on hyper-local stuff here in the area because that's exactly what we made this channel for. So click down below, Life on the Emerald Coast, snoop around the channel a little bit, watch some videos, find out what the Emerald Coast is all about. Every city is a little bit different here, and there's probably one that's just perfect for you. Well, hopefully this video helped at least a little bit, especially if you were thinking about moving from California to Florida. I hope that I shed a little bit of light. As I mentioned before, snoop around the channel, find out if this small area of Florida is best for you. Well, I just want to thank you for watching, and if you found this helpful at all, I'd love it if you'd click that like button and comment down below. I love engaging with you guys that are watching these videos, so make sure you put something down below. Even if you don't agree with me, go ahead, put it down below. You're not going to hurt my feelings, I promise. Anyway, that's all we got. See ya.